In our previous video, we took the sheets of Atlanta, Boston, and Chicago and formatted all of them the same. We never stopped and took a look at anything other than the Atlanta office when we got done, though, so let's do that now. Let's click off of one of these three. Now let's go back to Boston, Atlanta, and Chicago. So we cut our formatting time down by 2/3 because we only had to do it once instead of 3 times. Now what we're going to do in this video is we're going to put in a summary sheet, and we're going to have some formulas that refer back to the 3 cities, Boston, Atlanta, and Chicago. And a formula that refers to something on another worksheet is called a 3D formula. So let's go ahead. We need a new worksheet to start with. So let's click on Chicago here and then right click, and then let's choose Insert. We'll insert a new worksheet and we'll click on OK. And I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to call it Summary. I'm going to move it over to the end so the cities are still all together. And now we're going to take Chicago's numbers here and we're going to drag the mouse over them. And we're going to copy them. You can do a Control-C or click on the copy button up here. And now let's go over and we want to paste those in. Okay, now if I do an ordinary paste, the formatting will still come along, but the column widths will not change. So we're going to go up here to our paste button, and you see there's 7 options just for an ordinary paste, and one of them is the next to last one is one that will paste, and in addition to all the other formatting, it will keep the column width from the original. So we had to widen these a little bit to get everything to fit in there and make it visible. So the columns are wider, and you can tell by comparing that with the other columns over here on the right. So we got pretty much a perfect copy. Now, this obviously is not the Chicago office anymore, so we're going to put Summary and hit Enter. My labels are going to be the same. My labels over on the rows are going to be the same. My totals are going to be formatted the same. These are all going to be dollar values. The only thing I need to change is these values in the middle from rows 3 through 5 and B through E. So I'm going to select those and hit the Delete key. And now we're going to do a 3D formula. I want B3 from Atlanta, Boston, and Chicago. So it's a formula. Let's start off with the equal sign. And then let's go to Atlanta and click on the 10. And keep an eye up here as we build our formula. If you want to refer to something on another sheet, you have to tell the name of the sheet that it's on. The name of the sheet is Atlanta, and then there's an exclamation mark separating the sheet name from the cell reference, and then the B3. And then just type a plus. And the next item I want is on the Boston sheet, and I click on Boston's B3. And again, kind of follow along up here just to make sure you're getting everything right. And so now it's Boston exclamation mark B3, and then we need another plus sign. Don't forget the plus sign. And then let's go to Chicago, and so now it says, and click on B3. And now we've got our completed formula up here. And what you might be tempted to do when you get done with that is say, okay, I'm done with my formula. I'm going to go back to my summary sheet. I'm going to show you what happens if you do. If I go back to the summary sheet, it changes the reference to that last item to summary B3, and now I've got what would be called a circular reference because it refers to itself. Let's go back to Chicago here. And now we've got Atlanta B3, Boston B3, Chicago B3. And now what you have to do before you go back and click on that summary tab is you have to hit the enter to finish the formula. Okay? And when I do, I get 915. And Atlanta had 10. Boston had 55. So that's 65. And Chicago must have had a bunch of them then. 65 and 850 is 915. So now, let's double click on this formula here and take a look. And you'll see the references are relative. There's no dollar signs. So Atlanta B3, Boston B3, Chicago B3. If I copy that down, the B3s will change to B4s. If I copy it to the right, the Bs will change to Cs and so on as I move across the page. So I don't need to do anything else. I'm just going to hit escape here so I'm no longer editing what's in the cell. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to get my fill handle on this and drag it down too. And then get my fill handle again and drag it across for 4/4. And there is my summary worksheet. And if I double click on any one of these, it'll be Atlanta, plus Boston plus Chicago, and it'll be the same reference. And it should be the row in the column of whatever particular cell you happen to be in when you double click. Okay, and that's all there is to 3D cell references. The easiest way to do it, rather than type them, I think, is click on the cell that you want to refer to in your formula, and remember to always keep an eye on what you're doing up here, because it's easy to make a mistake.